What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Post-Gazette Steelers YouTube channel and podcast network. He is Ray Fittipaldo. I'm Noah Hiles. It's your Tuesday show, and it's presented to you by FanDuel. Ray, the Steelers pulled out a big win in Baltimore. We've got a lot to talk about. Going to start the show talking about receivers, but before we do, want to remind everyone one of the show's presenting sponsors as well is Pella. There's no better place to get new windows and doors installed in your home than Pella, who can help you save on energy costs year-round. Schedule a free in-home consultation with your local Pella windows and doors to find the right product for all your home and budget. For your home and budget. Give us a call at 866-593-1560 to discuss your project further. That's 866-593-1560 to get started planning on your new windows and doors installation with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. So, Ray, we saw some new faces on the field as far as the Steelers' receiving corps is concerned. Adam Thielen, obviously dressed in his first game since joining the organization, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling also gets some time. He had one target, an incompletion on third down, a rather potentially consequential incompletion that didn't come to fruition, fortunately for the Steelers. And then Adam Thielen was targeted once as well. He had one catch for 4 yards. I don't think either of those guys were a big story other than the fact that they were there. And Roman Wilson wasn't. He was the healthy scratch on Sunday. Let's start here, Ray. What does that mean for Roman Wilson moving forward? Do you expect him to continue being a healthy scratch? And what does that say about his status on this team, both now and in the future?
Yeah, I think unfortunately for Roman, the Steelers threw for a season-high 284 yards. They're not going to change now. They were looking for a spark, and they received it from Thielen and from Valdes-Scantling. So I would expect Roman Wilson to be on the bench again. I don't want to jump to any big conclusions about his future, but certainly unfortunate for him, Noah, that he's in year 2 here and he's been benched late in the season for a couple of guys who just got on the scene. One within the past month who had been on the practice squad, and Valdes-Scantling, and then another in Thielen who was here for just a couple of days. And Thielen, we should note, started that game. So I don't know what it says about what the Steelers' offense was before Sunday, but it looked pretty good with Thielen and Valdes-Scantling. So I think they're going to continue down that road.
Yeah, I do think it says something about Wilson, though, in the sense where, this was a guy who was injured all last year. And then this year, he has every opportunity to step up and make something of himself. And you could blame scheme for him not being able to get more involved or, whatever else you want to point toward. But the reality is, if he was making plays, someone else would have lost their roster spot. And they probably would have liked it to be someone else. When you draft a guy in the third round, and he was someone they probably envisioned being a regular contributor to this team this year. And when you're healthy scratching him for 2 guys that you picked up off the scrap heap, guys that, for lack of a better way to put it, no other team really wanted. So I just think that's not a good look for him. And again, I'm on your side where it's not ready to say his career is absolutely over. But I think it does say a lot as to, how bad things got as receivers, for these receivers. But let's focus a little bit more now on MVS and Thielen. Like you said, these guys are new. One's been here for like a month, one's been here for like a week. How much involvement can we expect to see from these two? Or is their greatest contribution simply running competent routes to get other guys open?
Well, I think you make a good point there. Thielen outsnapped Austin. He had 25. I think Austin and then Valdes-Scantling had 16, or right around there. I thought, one of the more telling quotes from Aaron Rodgers' post-game news conference was, and I'm paraphrasing here, he says, "I don't believe in coincidences. I have to believe that the professionalism of those 2 guys, Thielen and Valdes-Scantling, had something to do with the way the passing game clicked." And, unfortunately, we're left to kind of read between the lines there. But I think what he was talking about was their approach to practice. the details. Like how often have we heard Aaron Rodgers talk about, the offense not being on the details and things just being off there. So I think, those veterans just coming in, knowing what to do, running the right routes, being lined up in the right place was really big for that offense. So I think, just pushing this narrative forward, I think we're going to see more of Adam Thielen. And I think we're probably going to see a little bit more of Valdes-Scantling as well. Austin had one big play in that game, that 30-yard go route that was on a third down. It was a big play in that football game, but it was only one catch. Again, Thielen only one catch, but we should note he was the target. He was wide open on that play where Rodgers had it batted down, then he caught it.
Yeah.
Thielen was wide open on that play. So I think he's going to be involved more. Same goes for Scantling. And I think, unfortunately, that probably means a limited or, more limited role like he saw last week against the in this past game for Calvin Austin. I think his snaps are going to go down. I think you're going to see the two veterans go up.
And then, of course, I think all of this just tracks back to one guy. The every job of every receiver essentially is to create better matchups for DK Metcalf, and that's kind of what worked on Sunday in Baltimore. I mean, Metcalf targeted 12 times, 7 catches, 148 yards. Ray, I mean, this is how this offense works, especially when the tight ends aren't involved. Freiermuth 2 catches, Jonnu Smith only targeted once. Washington only 1 catch. I mean, they have their one receiver who stands above the pack. And when you have guys like what Rodgers said, doing it professionally, running the right routes, knowing where to be, that helps your star player get open. And they have to be pretty satisfied with that type of production. And do you think that is able to be replicated with the scheme that they had on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Calvin Austin touched on this after the game, and he basically said Arthur Smith was able to dictate some of that man-on-man, one-on-one coverage that DK was able to see. And I think a lot of that had to do with the way the Ravens wanted to play the Steelers. I think we were all surprised when DK was out there with one-on-one matchups, and the Steelers were like, okay. DK's eyes lit up. When he was one-on-one, they were like, okay, we're going to throw it to him. And he won more often than he didn't on Sunday. I don't know how many other teams are going to play in that posture. If they're smart and they look at the way the Ravens kind of got taken advantage of, they'll probably go to, some more double coverage and 2 safety looks. But I think the overall point is if Arthur can scheme that up against the Ravens, then you would think he would be able to scheme that up against some other teams as well. He might not get, the volume of one-on-one chances that DK had against the Ravens, but he should be able to scheme that up, once, twice, 3 times a game when the Steelers need it, for a big play. So I thought that was good by Arthur. I kind of like that tweak, the way he kind of out-schemed the Ravens there. And, we'll see if he's able to do it against the Dolphins. No, this Dolphins team has won 4 in a row, 5 out of 6, and they are still in contention for a playoff berth. Now, their chances are slim, but they are still alive. So this is not going to be an easy game on Monday night.
And will they have DK Metcalf? I know he has the stomach bug right now, right? He didn't travel home with the team because of the stomach issues. What's the latest on that front?
So what we found out yesterday was he got to the team plane with the rest of the team, and he had some stomach issues. Now, we don't know if it was a bug. It could have been just a hard hit during the game. And, the Steelers statement said, out of an abundance of caution, he was taken to a local hospital, and then he was released, spent the night in the hotel, and then he came home Monday morning. So we will get an update from Mike Tomlin today on what went on there. But the fact that he didn't have to stay overnight in a hospital and went to a hotel is good news. And I would suspect he's probably going to be limited early in the week, but I think with the extra day, he should be okay for the Dolphins on Monday night.
And that's a big game, Ray, because the AFC is quite a mess. We're going to talk about that mess when we come back after this break. Steelers here on the Post-Gazette Steelers YouTube channel and podcast network. This show is brought to you by Goldberg, Persky & White. If you are diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer, call your local attorneys at Goldberg, Persky & White. For over 40 years, our firm has represented thousands of lung cancer and mesothelioma victims. Call 1-800-COMPLEX or visit gpwlaw.com for a free consultation. Ray, FanDuel has the Steelers as 3.5-point favorites at home this Monday against the Miami Dolphins, a team who looked dead at the start of the season, but they're playing some better football as of late. Anytime you see that minus sign in front of a Steelers team this year, seems kind of risky, right? Especially at home. They have not been good in prime time this year. Let's just start there. Is this still, like last week when we were doing the schedule game, we looked at this game as a potential, I don't want to say easy win, but one of the more winnable games remaining. You still feel that way?
No, because I think this Dolphins team is getting hot at the right time. Now, unfortunately for them, it's probably too late to have a legitimate shot at the playoffs. But if they win, they'll keep their hopes alive. Their running game is really good, Noah, so that's a big concern for the Steelers. We all know they gave up 249 the last time they were at Acrisure, and they gave up 217 against the Ravens, and they somehow managed to win that football game, even though they were outgained on the ground 217-34. So the Miami game, running game concerns me. The Tua, has played a little bit better lately. But I think they're more geared around the run now. They're playing better defensively as well. So like I said at the top, this game's going to be a challenge. This is not going to be the easy one we all thought it was going to be back in May when the schedule was released.
For sure. I mean, you look at it, they've won 4 straight. This is maybe the hottest team in the AFC right now. And I agree with you, Ray. I don't see how they get in. They're 3 games back in the wild card standings. I think they're 5 back in the division. But what they can do for the rest of the season is spoil a lot of teams' playoff desires, and it could start on Monday. But you look at the big picture here, Ray. The AFC, for lack of a better way to put it, just doesn't seem very good this year. You have 2 teams at the top who have been consistent for pretty much the entire season. That's the Broncos and the Patriots. They're both led by pretty young quarterbacks, guys who haven't really won anything in this league yet. And then you have the Jaguars at the 3 seed. They're 9-4. The Steelers are the last division leader at 7-6. Chargers, Bills, and Texans are the 3 wild card teams. The first 2 are 9-4. The Texans 8-5.
Yeah.
And then you have on the outside looking in, you have the Colts, who were the juggernaut of the league in the first half. You have the Ravens, and then you have the Chiefs. Definitely not the playoff picture I expected to be looking at when the season began. If you would have told me, we're here on December 9th, and the Chiefs and Ravens are 3 games back of a wild card spot, that would have shocked me. What do you make of this chaotic playoff picture right now?
Yeah, I bet if you go back and look at the Post-Gazette picks in our preseason issue that was published back in August or maybe early September, I think everyone probably had the Bills, the Chiefs, or the Ravens coming out of the AFC. I don't know if anyone was adventurous enough to pick any of those other teams. And here we are with a month to go in the regular season, Noah. The Chiefs have a 10% chance of making the playoffs after they lost to the Texans. And the Ravens are hovering around 30%. But I wrote about this yesterday. The Steelers can lose the next 3 games. And then if they beat the Ravens in Week 18, they're still the division champs. So it's going to be really hard for the Steelers to blow this. They're almost going to have like a complete meltdown not to win the division this year. So 2 teams that we all thought were going to be at the top of the AFC aren't there. And the other interesting thing that we could talk about, defense. Look at the Broncos. Broncos at the top of the conference, young quarterback, but their defense is sort of driving the show. The Patriots have a really good defense. I know Drake May is an MVP candidate, but Mike Vrabel, defensive coach. Look at the Texans who have gotten back into it.
Yeah.
The best defense in the NFL, they're now the number 7 seed, and I don't know who wants to play them in the first round. If you're the number 2 or the number 3 seed, I don't know if I want to play the Texans just because they're so hard to score against. So it's really an interesting year in the AFC. It seems like this is like the year we're turning the page on the old Chiefs dynasty, and I think it's good for the NFL. I think we needed some new blood in there, and I think we're going to get it this postseason.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the way things are currently sitting, those 3 wildcard teams might have 3 of the 4 best odds to win the AFC. Because, I mean, Buffalo, I don't care where they're positioned in the bracket, they're going to be probably one of the odds-on favorites to just win the league just because they have the reigning MVP. The Texans, like you said, I don't think any team in the NFL wants to play the Houston Texans right now. And I mean, in the Chargers, they're banged up, obviously, but I think that's a brand of football that it's been proven to not match up well against the Steelers. So yeah, it's just shaping up to be really, really unique where you have, again, the Ravens and the Chiefs, who have been 2 of like the 3 standards in the AFC over the last 5 years. They might not be in it, but it still doesn't make you feel any better about your chances to win a playoff game if you're the Steelers. At least that's how I see it, because you're looking at a really tough matchup regardless of who's going to get that 5 seed, I think.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point about the Bills. You know, they've kind of been this team that's won the East the last couple of years. They've been close. Maybe this is the year they just go in as a wild card. Maybe the pressure's off. You know, they're not playing at home. You remember them losing to the Bengals at home. They've lost to the Chiefs at home. So maybe just having the pressure taken off will be a big thing for them. I mean, Noah, would you be surprised that if it's the Bills and the Steelers in the first round, the Bills come in here as touchdown favorites? I mean, that's
no.
FanDuel would probably have them as a 6 or 7 point favorite in that game, just based on Josh Allen and what they did to the Steelers a week ago. So it's a really upside down, topsy-turvy kind of year in the AFC. And honestly, if you look at the NFC too, the Eagles losing last night, defending champs. I mean, it's kind of crazy how the NFL is panning out this year. And that's the way the league office wants it. They want that parity. They want all these teams to have hope going into the playoffs, and fans are going to be excited for their teams, and certainly the teams that haven't been there a while when they enter the postseason here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, the Bills and the Patriots per FanDuel have the best odds to win the AFC right now. They're both plus 390. They have a pretty big game coming up too, so that could definitely shift those odds. And then you have the Broncos behind them at plus 410, and then the Houston Texans at plus 650. So I do think that those division standings could look different by the end of the year. I mean, there's a chance Buffalo could catch up to New England. There's a chance that Houston could catch up to Jacksonville. It'll be interesting to see, though, because it's nuts when you really think about it, where the Steelers, out of all those teams that we just mentioned, probably have one of the easier paths to win their respective division, just because there isn't a legitimate challenger. Now, again, the Steelers shouldn't feel confident in any form of success moving forward because they can't consistently do anything right now. But when you look at how it's set up, at the very least, I think they have a decent shot to have a home game in round 1.
It's all about the matchups, though. I think if they get Josh Allen and the Bills in here in the second week of January, it's going to be tough. But right now, if you look at the standings, the Chargers actually have the tiebreaker over the Bills. So the Chargers are the number 5 seed right now. So if that stayed the same, I would feel much better about a Steelers-Chargers matchup, despite what took place a little more than a month ago out in Los Angeles. I think that's a game that the Steelers could win. So all you're looking to do, get in the tournament, hope for a favorable matchup, and then survive in advance. So, maybe, like you said, maybe the Steelers, it hasn't been a consistent year for them, but maybe this is the year where they're not that good and they get a little bit of lady luck and they get in and maybe go on a little bit of a run. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
We'll have to wait and see. And of course, that journey will continue on Monday as they host the Miami Dolphins, winners of 4 straight. Ray will be there to cover it. We'll have you covered every day on this channel. Be sure to subscribe. Check out all of our work at post-gazette.com and keep tuning in for more Steelers coverage here on the Post-Gazette Steelers YouTube channel and podcast network.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.